Hi, and welcome to episode 13. 13?
I think, is it 13?
There's 13 because 12 was last week at
okay.
in that weekly podcast. So good evening, and welcome to episode 13 of the Brewgaders Dynamic Duo of Beer and Comics. We're going to be looking at 4 different beers that we've acquired in the last week and a bit, and 4 comics that we've seemed to have acquired quite randomly in the last week and a bit.
Yep.
Our beers just this week are from Kinloch Leven, from River Leven Ales. It's called the River Leven Dark, and we've also got from Brewshed, who we visited last week.
Brewshed, an American pale ale called Ramsay Lane.
Yep. We noticed that we drank a lot of their beer last week on the podcast without actually reviewing any of the beers, so I thought it would be quite a good one.
Indeed. I've also got Cross Borders Bill's Beer. Tell you a bit more about that later.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Overtone's Roselle Gose. So that'll be an interesting one. 2
breweries that we've reviewed in the past and 2 that we haven't. So I thought that would be quite good. Comics wise, again on this total randomly acquired theme, I found this in a charity shop. This is Trees by Warren Ellis and Jason Howard, and I picked this up from a local comic book shop because it's been produced by a local young comic creator, Callie. It's a zine about weird nerdy animals by Aoife. Apologies if I didn't get that right. Aoife. I didn't get that right.
I've got a neighbour called that.
Okay, so yeah, and printed and published by Out of the Blueprint in Edinburgh.
And I have got The Horror Club by Sarah Allan, which I picked up at Glasgow Comic Con last weekend. So a little indie comic, and then a bit more mainstream. I've got this one-shot Hellboy, which was out a couple of weeks ago, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hellboy.
Awesome. So we've opened a beer in our sort of new tradition. We opened a beer before we went to air. This was given to us by
the lovely people at Goshboy Comics,
we had a rather humorous exchange of pleasantries on Instagram.
We should tell our listeners and viewers what happened.
Yeah, they posted something about Stupendous, which is we'll review next week because I want to actually give it a wee bit of time sitting looking at. Stupendous is their new. So Goshboy we reviewed in week 1. They did Derek the comic, and we were both big fans. So I saw that they'd released Stupendous and said, "Oh, where can we get this?" And he said, "Oh, well, we're at the Glasgow Comic Con, which Colin was at," and said, "Yeah, we'll make sure you get it there." And then we had a weird exchange where we realised that I was like, "Well, wait, it's a shame that we can't meet you guys more regularly because we enjoy their comics and they also seem to enjoy their beers." So but they live up in Kinloch Leven, which is maybe about 10 miles south-ish of Fort William. It's not the most accessible place in the world to get to.
Yeah.
It is a stop on the West Highland Way, and that's how I've been there very briefly on an overnight. They have a brewery. River Leven Ales are based there.
They organised to bring some to Glasgow Comic Con so I could pick it up. But in exchange, they had left a cosplay costume, I think of Asterix the Gaul, at Dunfermline Comic Con. So I was able to get that from the folk at the little shop of heroes and take it along to Glasgow Comic Con. So we exchanged there. That was quite nice. I was running about with my winged helmet and my sword for a wee while at Glasgow Comic Con.
I like that. It's just like it's an exchange of stuff that possibly would have happened if we hadn't started this, which is cool. Yeah. So you knew Goshboy from the comic scene.
2 or 3 years ago.
The River Ales Dark is brewed following traditional methods using only top quality ingredients, not least of which is their superb Kinloch Leven water, which is both plentiful and free.
It's a very Scottish ale, malty, sweet.
Very malty.
No bitterness at all in there. Goes down pretty well.
Yeah. Can't really argue about that.
What ABV is it?
4.8.
4.8.
Yeah, I checked them both thinking I should have to pick the lower one, but they're both 4.8.
Right.
We have a River Leven Blonde as well as the other one.
Yeah. It's reminding me an awful lot of the 80s revival that Cool Brewing do, which is kind of a bit of an award-winning beer.
It won our beer of the week that week.
Yeah, and this is quite similar.
Seems I actually picked up a couple of bottles of that for later on in the week. Cool are winning quite a lot of awards with that, aren't they? I read that they've just on Facebook just there and now they've announced that they've delivered some to the River Tay Beer Festival, which is in August.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. But River Leven Ales it wasn't a brewery I was aware of.
Yeah, I haven't seen them anywhere, I have to say. You might pick them up in maybe a touristy shop on the west coast or something. I would have recognised the label, I think, but I haven't seen it. So I'll look around and see if I do see it anywhere. But
it's strange because that's really, really nice, and if I could acquire that somewhere else, I'd be quite happy to drink that more regularly. First comment you went to the house.
Okay, well I'll start off then. They've both kind of got kind of horror-y kind of things.
Yeah.
The Hellboy and the Horror Club. So this is Horror Club by Sarah Allan. I just picked up at Glasgow Comic Con, having a little look around the different stalls that people had, and I like to just pick up random stuff and see what it's about. The name just appealed to me. I read the blurb. Join the members of the Horror Club for movies, popcorn, and the occasional paranormal obstacle that interrupts everyday life in an Edinburgh high school. It's kind of a first part. It does say chapter 1 end, and then there's some upcoming chapter titles at the end, and it does feel quite unfinished.
Yeah.
Good enough little start, though the Horror Club appears to only have 2 members. So it starts off by introducing the main character, whose name is Omawa, and she discovers this basement club underneath the school, which is run by a character called Blair, in a sort of untidy basement where he watches horror movies. So the club effectively at this stage is just the 2 of them, and they get together, watch creepy movies, eat some popcorn, chat about things, and then they decide to tidy up. The place is in a bit of a mess, and then they tidy up. They knock over this potion, I guess.
Okay.
It smashes open, and soon they've got a little sort of demonic sprite character who's I guess maybe becomes part of the club. I guess it's going to be an ongoing character, and then bizarre supernatural things happen.
Okay.
It probably doesn't quite live up to the blurb on the back, but I think as it goes, the forthcoming chapters, I think it will improve.
Interesting to find out more about the artist, not the artist, or is Sarah Allan the writer and artist?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
I did a little bit of research for the book I'm about to talk about, and
I think Sarah must have been the person I spoke to at the stand at Glasgow. A nice little start, but it just felt a little unfinished. It would have been nice to just have a wee bit more of a story there.
It's nice. The art's I'd be interested to find out more about the creation and production of putting this together.
It's kind of got a slightly cute manga style, a little bit, a lot more Western style shading and things on it.
It's a thing that happens quite a lot in manga comics where characters almost change complete features, and there's a bit here where for those watching the video, there's a bit there where the character goes into quite a dynamic pose, but earlier on in the page he's it's quite stationary, and it almost looks like a different character just the way. But that happens quite a lot in manga where we have these large bursts of energy, almost create like a different. It's clearly influenced by that manga style is another example of it as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Interesting, she's got a nose in some of these frames, but not in other frames.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, there is a bit of, I don't know, the artwork is a bit inconsistent. Yeah. But, it's a good start. I don't know how long she's been doing comics.
Yeah.
I think I seem to remember having 2 or 3 different books on the table.
Okay. This was one, you like your horror comics, though, isn't it?
I do quite like kind of little horror stories.
Yeah.
So it's what appealed to me.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so good start. Forward to maybe reading other chapters if they come out in the future.
Awesome. Very good.
What we doing? More beer, or you do a comic?
We'll do a comic. I'm slow. I'm not drinking that as fast as I intended to. I'm going to move on to this just because Callie by you have to keep saying this name for me. Aoife. I picked this up from a local comic book shop because it was advertised on the Facebook page for Little Shop of Heroes as being a local comic creator. I did a wee bit of research following it. Obviously, there's nothing about Aoife, which makes me question how old Aoife is, which is fine. But I looked at, I checked out of the Blueprint, who are the printer and the publisher of this book, and they are they're based out of Edinburgh. They're a social enterprise printing company.
Yeah, I know it. They're out the Blue Drill Hall in Leith, and they do printing but using this blue printing technique. Yes, it's got a name. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a particular name for that.
And from what I understand, that there's an ecological approach to the way that they print in the paper as well. But yeah, I didn't realise that's they were out of the Blue Drill Hall. I've been in there quite a few times. They do the vintage clothes markets and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Callie is I thought this was just really random, and I think as a high school teacher, this tickled my this tickled my just that part of I work with teenagers, and I could see a lot of the energy in this book in a lot of the children that I work with. Just random ideas, lots of just changes of vibes and energies, and it was good fun to read. And I'm also going to give it to you at the end of the night to let you take it back and read it. So Callie is a honey badger who is a teenage female honey badger who goes to a high school, which is also all her classmates are anthropomorphic animals. She hangs out.
Honey badgers are like Wolverine, kind of nasty, kind of vicious animals as far as I can.
I'd like to, if I ever spoke to Aoife, there were so many wee questions I had that I would ask, that I want to ask about just about why she picked certain animals, and I couldn't work out what the theme was, and it seems like there's been a deliberate pick of quite strange animals. So obviously our main character is our protagonist is a honey badger. The cool kids that she doesn't really speak to tend to be sort of more aggressive animals like a cheetah. She hangs around with an axolotl. Her best friends are an axolotl. I'm trying to see if I remember. She actually writes there's a bit where they get given they have a new English teacher at the high school, and they have to write about themselves, which is I thought was a really clever plot device for being able to offload loads of details about the main characters. So Callie talks about herself, a bit about the honey badger. She talks about her friends who I can't remember. She's got a friend who's an axolotl, and she's got a friend that's a wolf, and it's just the three of them just kind of trying to get through a school day. It finishes with them taking part in their regular Dungeons and Dragons-esque tabletop game, where something happens that leads on to issue 2, which hasn't been printed yet. But they're put in a situation where this Dungeons and Dragons group made of random characters, including honey badgers and pandas, and they're called to try and solve a real life mystery. A bit like your horror club, it's quite a juvenile, silly, rather what's the word I'm looking for? Just a rather pedestrian pastime, but this group have them called on to do something that could lead to different kinds of adventures. So that was really good. I thought the artwork was really, really good.
Just having a look over your shoulder here, nice use of perspective. There's quite a lot of action, movement, good use of different kind of panels with close-ups of faces for expressions. And
there's loads of stuff happening. Like I read it a few times just to try and catch up. There's like nods to computer gaming.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Nods to they're obviously playing this. When they're playing the Dungeons and Dragons game, and they're describing their character's movements, the panels shift so you can actually start to see. So Callie's character is like a knight, like a kind of dashing knight with swords and stuff. So when she's doing her bits and when she's doing her player character parts of this tabletop game, you see it from her perspective. So she's talking and she's obviously holding the sword and being, and then the same with our friends are doing similar things as well. So that was really, I thought it was a hell of a lot of fun, and I really want to see where it goes. The only thing that did annoy me, and this is a personal thing that I hate. Have you ever seen that YouTube clip where the little girl is singing and her mum comes in and gives her a row for leaving poo in the toilet?
Yes, of course, yes.
I work with teenagers and they shout this down corridor. It's a Scottish lady and she shouts the word disgusting, but she says it in a really broad West Scotland aggressive accent. And I work with teenagers and they shout this quite a lot down the corridor at each other. They shout the words disgusting at each other quite a lot. And there's a bit in the comic where a teacher says disgusting, and annoyed me a wee bit. I think that was maybe the teacher in me was like. But apart from that, that was really well done. And the reason I picked it over all the other stuff I read this week again was just because it was put together and written by. I spoke to Sinead at the local comic book shop about it. She said this girl had got a wee bit of support from some other comic book writers to just pull it together. Yeah. And then out of the blue, print had.
I think they do a lot of workshops on doing.
Yeah, and if you go to the website, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, that I had a look at the website today, while I was reading up on them, and there is like ongoing courses and, as you say, workshops and stuff. It's all advertised on the website, so. This is a young lady who's managed to put this together and it's a phenomenal piece of work. And she's clearly had a lot of support doing that, and I was quite proud reading it. I don't really know much else about the writer or the project, but it was quite humbling and quite incredible to read it, to be honest.
Yeah, great. So I look forward to reading that as well. Another beer? I'm going to go for that.
Yeah, you select because I picked that one without even asking you.
Okay, I know that one's got quite a strong flavour, so let's go for this one here instead. Made the stronger flavour going for that.
From our friends at Brew down the Lime Kilns.
Yeah, that was a video last week. Yeah. Apart from the little interim one that I made this week.
Good job in editing in that, by the way. I should point out that we were there for quite a while last week, and Colin we did a lot of recording and a lot of tangents and chatting. Much like this tangent I'm on right now. But,
Jeff talking about Star Wars prequels.
It was relevant at the time.
Maybe.
But I thought it was. We had to drink quite a lot by that part of the conversation.
No. Yeah, we had.
But,
so we didn't really do any reviews as such there. We were just talking about brewing and the brewing process and what the brew shed was about.
We did have this one when we were down there, though.
We did this one.
It was a particular favourite.
This is Ramsay Lane, their American style pale ale. So as you would expect from an American style pale, you're imagining citrusy, fruity flavours.
Bursty smell.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we're getting there.
Yeah, it's like Cascade hops. It's very popular in that kind of.
So the whole brew shed sort of ethos was about making kind of beers that are familiar, the kind of thing that you might go and buy in your local pub, and almost copying the style of established beers, not to make anything. We kind of joked about them making unremarkable beers. They're not trying to make something that's got a wow factor about it. They just want something that's Stephen said he didn't want people talking about the beer, because a lot of craft beer is interesting. There's something interesting about it. It makes you want to talk about it. And he didn't want that. He wanted a beer that you would just enjoy whilst having a chat with your mates about something else.
I think we were drinking this when he said that, and I remember saying, actually, of all the beers we drank tonight, this is the one that fails that remit, because it is I thought it was a really, really nice beer. It would be one that I would stop and say, what do folk think about this?
Yeah. It's a good example of that style of beer.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. But yeah, that was a really nice classic American style ale. It's lovely. I could drink that all day. I think if we were in like a barbecue or something like that, and it's 4.7, so it's slightly higher than.
We should probably say it's pretty hard to get.
Yeah.
Brew shed beer.
Yeah.
Because there's only 4 places you can get it. So there's the Ship Inn in Lime Kilns, famous pub, supposedly the pub that appears in Kidnap, the Robert Louis Stevenson.
Yeah, totally.
So they get casks there, so they've got it on tap.
But
there might be different
cask a week, so
it's different stuff every week, so you never know what you're going to have, because they had a summer ale there, I think.
What did you?
It's what we had.
It was called Elgin. It was nice.
Yeah, that's right. And you can also get it in the local shop in Charleston, in the Premier shop in Crossgates, so that little village outside of Dunfermline.
Yeah.
And at the weekends, the Woodley Stables.
In
That's
Crossgates as well,
just outside Crossgates. There's sort of like stalls for local produce, and he sells his beer there. So it's some of the most exclusive beer that we've had, because you just can't get it easily unless you come to Fife. It's this little neck or this little corner of West.
I recommend it as well.
Yeah, and all the beers we had were good. There was a couple we hadn't tasted on the night, but we've since got them. The brown ale and I think a porter. Yeah, so we'll probably review the porter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm enjoying this American style pale ale.
It was quite nice. There was a nice evening where we got to spend just chatting. It was lovely.
It was sunny, it was warm, there was birds chirping in the trees.
No, it was
very pleasant.
It was actually pleasant. Have you listened to the podcast back? It's a pleasant listening experience because of those birds.
The birds in the background.
I thought when I first heard them, I was like, oh no, that's going to be really distracting, but it's not.
It feels as though you're there.
When
you're listening to the podcast.
Certainly you should check out Brew Shed. We had a lovely evening drinking really nice beer and some really nice company, and I think that's the ethos of the beer, which is really cool. What was your other comic pick?
So it was Hellboy and the BBRD, and it's the sort of subtitle is The Beast of Vargu. So this year it's 25 years of Hellboy, created by Mike Mignola, who usually draws them as well as writes, but this example here is Duncan Fegredo, who's kind of really popular artist on the Hellboy. People really like the style, and I think he's done the cover as well. So this is the variant cover. There's a normal cover, which is Mike Mignola style, but this is the variant which I decided to go for. And it's really just one story, a little short story. It's very similar to a lot of the short stories that you get about Hellboy. Hellboy goes to find some supernatural demon type thing, fights it, defeats it, and that's kind of where it is. But the little twist here is, I can't exactly remember where it is, Carpathia or somewhere, that he goes to this sort of temple place. There's rumours of this beast being there, and there being black masses and things, and of course this big beast, which is kind of like a griffin type thing, almost. Wings and sort of bear-like face and things. It comes out and fights him, and Hellboy gets the shit kicked out of him, basically, and he wakes up to find some gypsies have kind of taken him in. So there's this really old, kind of wizened lady gypsy and I think her granddaughter. They take him in, heal him, bandage him up, and as part of their gypsy sort of show, they have a caravan that has got like a puppet show in it, and they show them this little puppet show, and the puppet show is all about this demon and how it came about. So it's kind of giving you the backstory of this demon, and then amazingly a Hellboy puppet appears in the story and tackles the demon and defeats it, and then you see these sort of flashbacks to the battle between Hellboy and the demon, and it turns out that although we saw him getting beaten, he actually beat the demon, which is kind of weird.
Oh, it's so...
and then he can't really understand it and stuff as well. And then there's a sort of second little story as well, which follows on with the gypsies and them doing a little puppet show, which kind of tells another story, which is a bit like Hellboy's origin story almost.
Yeah.
So unusual, a different one.
Yeah.
Did I like it? It was okay, but I've read a lot of similar stories.
Yeah.
It was just this little weird twist that made it kind of interesting with the gypsy puppet show.
I thought the artwork's quite fascinating in this one. I've read a wee bit of Hellboy.
Mm-hmm.
I always think it's quite interesting if you a bit like when we talked about Time Girl before. When you stop reading it for a wee while, a lot of different artists and writers take a lot of liberties when they're developing them and drawing them, and often like I've got the first couple of Hellboy stories upstairs where they which are the ones that the movies were kind of based on.
Mm-hmm.
So Hellboy's quite a stocky, heavy set guy. Yeah. Whereas in these ones, he's quite lean.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know the reason for that. I don't know if it's just a different interpretation, artist's interpretation.
It's got a little nod to Mike Mignola's original artwork. There's a lot of heavy blacks and sort of shading and stuff. But Duncan Figueiredo's art is more detailed because he's more kind of mainstream comics artist. So it's got a nod back to the original look, but
this intense like sort of muscle definition is quite
heavy blacks. You can see the brush strokes sort of going into
just that kind of detail in the muscles is very that's quite a that's a quite a current
pop that up.
And a lot of the comics I read, particularly Marvel, that you notice that more in the newer series, like the muscle definition. I don't know if that's a trend in popular culture at the moment, but I do notice if you read older Marvel stuff in particular, they don't focus too much on muscle definition on the costume, whereas they do it quite a lot in the newer stuff. And I think it's just a trend in art, I suppose. But I like Hellboy stuff. But like you say right at the beginning of this review, it gets quite samey after
it does, yeah. It's kind of, it's a one-trick pony a little bit. They've just got to come up with a new creature for them to fight, and then there's a little gimmick there. And this one's the sort of gypsy caravan thing, and like I say, I've read lots of similar stuff. So it was okay. It was an entertaining little read for half an hour. But it's not something I read all the time. Okay.
Cool. Will we fire on another beer?
Yep.
You're saving that Overtone for last.
Because I've tasted that one at the Overtone tasting, so I know what it's like.
I'm looking forward to this one. I grabbed this one. This is a bias, even though we've got other.
Like this one.
Yeah.
Right. So Cross Borders Brewing did the tasting at the local beer shop, the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant. It's got the name right in Dunfermline. So there was a tasting there the other night. Jeff was on holiday, it seems ridiculous. So I went along and tasted like every beer they had, and then just brought a few home to taste. So this is Bill's beer. And it's named after Bill McLaren, the voice of Scottish rugby, and it was particularly brewed, I think, to raise some money for a charity, which was in his name. So it's billed as a sort of citrusy grapefruit type beer. So there you go.
Which we've always reviewed quite well in the past. That kind of mix. My favourite grapefruit beers. At the moment is the Stupid Brew. They've got First World Problems.
First World Problems,
Nice clean colour, and that really. And then you've got that classic citrusy sessional IPA smell about it that
This is 4.2%, and all it really says is grapefruit, citrus, fresh.
You can smell the citrus and the grapefruit.
Right away, you're getting that kind of strong. Very juicy.
Yeah. Not overpowering like so though.
No.
I liked everything Cross Borders have done. I must say, like the Raw in particular, I know we reviewed that quite well. Trying to think that one that week. I didn't win.
No, it was a runner-up.
It was a runner-up in a really tight, really tight selection of beers. But I've never been disappointed by anything Cross Borders.
There's a similarity. Yeah, I think here.
There's that nice grapefruit bitterness at the end of this one. I really like.
Yeah, for sure you're getting that.
It's crispy. It's crisp with a bit of finish.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely.
I think it's a really nice wee beer. Drink a few of them over the night, quite happily. Wondering what kind of food it would go very well with.
I find IPAs, I quite like burgers and stuff like that. I don't know if that's an American thing, but salads, something like, I don't know how folk have their burgers. I like to just fit around as much tomatoes and lettuce as I can, and cheese and stuff like that. And I think IPAs that's my beer of choice if I know we're having burgers that night. I don't know about what you...
I had the burger last night and I particularly went for an IPA to go with it, so yeah, that would work for me.
I do struggle. See, food to accompany porters, I've not quite worked out what my favourite is yet. Something proteiny, I think, is usually what
porter. Yeah, I'm not so sure I would be drinking that with food. Really.
Yeah. I had a really interesting beer for my beer box. You know, the ones that we got the beer 52 stuff. And it was a really funky beer. I'll need to find it. We've got a label upstairs. It was a Peruvian. It was designed to accompany Peruvian food. But it was really wheaty. This beer, it was getting really malty kind of, and that had me thinking. I was like, so I'm like, it was put together with a support from a Peruvian restaurant in Soho down in London. So I said to my son, can we go and visit that restaurant when we're down there next month? I want to see what the food is that they think this would accompany that beer with. But, beer, we should totally do a beer and food week. I think that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, we should.
I don't know how we would do that. Sitting with burgers and. Yeah, good on Crosswords. My last comic was I picked this up from a charity shop in Glasgow. It's called Trees. It's by Warren Ellis and Jason Howard. Warren Ellis has done everything, isn't he? He's one of the names in comics. Yeah.
Writer, doing everything from superheroes to create our own stuff. Absolutely.
It's quite well. I've read recently that Warren Ellis is known for bouncing around a wee bit too much, particularly the creator-owned stuff. Like he'll start a project and he won't bring it around to an end before he starts something else. It's kind of what he's known for, particularly with the stuff he's done with Image. So I didn't realise that at the time when I read Trees, and then I was like, oh, does it have a volume 2? I'm happy to see it does, but from what I understand, that's the exception to a rule. So this one's quite cool. So it's set 10 years after this event where extraterrestrial, like, you can't say that word because we've had 20 years. Try it.
ETs.
Yeah, trees. and you can see them even on the back of the book. These trees you don't see, they're so high that you can't see the top of them. Unless you're in space. But these things have landed all over Earth and then haven't done anything. So they very much like trees and seeds and that in the wild. They don't differentiate They don't decide where they land. It seems quite random. They've just loads of them are plopped on Earth all of a sudden, and they haven't done anything. Some of them secrete this kind of like sap every so often that is a disaster. It's like a natural disaster when it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from these events, which are quite rare, they don't do anything. These trees just sit there. And this is set 10 years after these landed. So it's quite interesting. They talk a lot about what I really liked about it is there's a core group of about 12 characters. I could read out from how many actually is there, but there's quite a large group of characters living and working in areas around different trees around the world, and it's just focusing on what's going on in that area of the world. So there's one an area in China, and the Chinese government have designated this area around the tree as like a free town where they can express the populace can express themselves the way they want to, but they're not allowed to leave. So it is like it's guarded on the outside by armed forces, and you have to apply to get into the town. Yeah. But once you're in there, you can express yourself any way you want, and it's very popular with artists who go on like temporary visas to go in. There's a research station in Antarctica who are studying a tree that seems to be growing plants, even though the Antarctic wastelands is not a suitable place for plants to grow. So they're trying to work out why that is. There's a very small story about a mayor of New York who's talking about the political advantages of working with the tree in mind to try and use the disasters that the trees have caused in the past as a political tool to get into power. And then there's a story about a mafia kind of group on a Greek island and how they use the tree they're using the area around the tree. In this area of Greece, people moved out of towns where trees are nearby because they're scared of them. So it's allowed like gangs to take footholds in areas where they traditionally didn't. Yeah. What's quite interesting is the trees don't actually do anything apart from unnerve people. And
do you ever learn anything about the trees, about their origin or
not yet.
Purpose?
At the moment you don't. And actually, what I quite enjoyed about the story was these stories could have existed without the trees being present.
Yeah.
So that the trees are kind of the catalyst for all the drama, but they don't serve any plot. Apart from the Antarctica story, enough the trees, you could have pulled the trees out of all the other story arcs, and you could have foreseeably created another plot device to let those stories unfold anyway. Apart from that, I say the Antarctica one, they're studying the tree, and that's the story. As I say, I was ripped. I read the whole thing. It's quite a large book, and I read it in a couple of hours, like from start to finish. While I was on holiday. Very much looking forward to trying to grab volume 2 and read that, see how it goes. It was just really interesting. And I thought I've read a lot, like a couple of characters talk about the sort of the silent subversive influence the trees have in the world, but what kind of unfolds is very human responses to crises. And I just thought I was fascinated by the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm wondering if what's it been influenced by? Is it like people that live right next to a nuclear base, and it pervades. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Never going to get used.
But it
dominates everything, and it doesn't affect you. You're not getting.
Yeah.
It just sits there. And I'm thinking, is it something like that? It reminds me a little bit of like The Walking Dead as well, and that the zombie things or whatever they are prevalent, but we don't actually know their origin or anything about them, at least for a long part of the story anyway. But all we're really seeing is how that affects groups of people and how they react.
So I
deal with it.
Reminded me of a lot of things as well, like I really like 2001 A Space Odyssey. Reminded me a wee bit of, when I was reading at the start, it reminded me of the monoliths that are present in there. I know the monoliths in 2001, whenever they appear, there seems to be an advancement in technology. It does have an influence, but that's never made clear why that is. What do the monoliths provide that allows people to all of a sudden? As I say, like folk are intimidated by the trees. It was just really intriguing, and I would totally recommend folk check it out because I found the story quite unnerving reading it, and I could almost feel the influence, but they don't do anything. As I say, sometimes they secrete this, which I think again is part of the natural lifespan of this species of tree, and very much in the way that like our trees on Earth are seasonal, and there's a lot made about the fact that the trees are unaware. It's like they're because they are trees, they're not intelligent, so they're not aware or empathic of their environments. They just are. They exist and they do what trees do, but we are the tiny insignificant beings that surround these things and are struggling as a result, which is very much so there is that kind of like you're saying, influence of The Walking Dead. There's also, I felt like, an influence of like nature, like a tree will never know the inhabitants within the tree. Like in the tree in my garden, that tree doesn't know that it's got birds in there. It doesn't know that there's like rabbits that live underneath it. It just is, and yet it's such an important and dramatic part of the lives of many creatures that use it as part of their ecosystems. It's just really, really cool. I did forget a subplot in there, but there is a really cool thing about one lands on the border between two African nations, and it's the only tree that you can see the top of, and that becomes politically and militarily, strategically important because you can actually put stuff on top of this tree, which you can't do. That was quite interesting as well. It was like, again, the tree just is. It doesn't do anything, yet it's the human being's interpretation of why it's there that creates the drama. It's just, you should really, really check it out. Warren Ellis, I know, is he's done everything, and he's known for trying really, really subversive things, and I thought that was really cool, and I was grabbed.
I'm surprised I haven't heard of this one before. It's been quite unusual.
Yeah, so
I wonder how popular it is.
I don't know. 2015 it came out, and it's got 16 parts. So this was the first 8 issues collected, and there's another 8. So
great. So it's worth saying, check out your local charity shops for books. Now and again, you'll find something of worth.
That was $3.99. I got that for.
£2 or £3 you'll get a comic book or a whole graphic novel. Just recently, even our local Waterstones had a sale on, and they sometimes just take a whole bunch of graphic novels and put them on sale. And I went and they were all £3. And I bought one because they were mostly Marvel, DC. I'm not massively into them, but I bought one, and then I happened to pop in the next day just to see it, and they were all gone. So somebody probably just come and bought the whole lot.
I went up and there wasn't anything there.
If you're into like Superman and Batman, and Green Lantern, I think were the main ones, maybe Aquaman, then fine. You could have just went and got them for £3, and they would normally be about 15. So local charity shops.
Your libraries as well.
Worth a look.
Your library, you obviously have to give them back because they're on loan, but some of the stuff I've pulled out of libraries. Yeah,
for sure. Stuff I would never have read, but maybe have been kind of recommended as this. You should read this. Hard to get in the shop or something. And I've read some really cool stuff. In fact, I'm going to do a review Emily Carroll's horror stories. They're really cool. It's a whole series of them. I think the name of it, but future week.
Totally. Those were our random comics this week. They were all kind of randomly selected.
Just totally random. I intended to do a different one, but I forgot to bring my iPad along today to review it. But next time. Right, so we're in the last beer, which is Overtone's rather oddly named Roselle Gose.
It's a Gose kind of beer, because I've noticed that word recurring.
I don't know, 4.5%. What have we got here? So sour beer. I don't usually like sours because they just give me terrible heartburn after sours. However, I did have this before and didn't get any heartburn from it.
You've not reviewed a sour? Yeah.
We haven't, have we? No, we haven't. I've bought a few.
I talked about one of them very earlier week. I had one that I really disliked it.
Right, okay. Well, let's pour some for you and let's see what you think. First of all, you're looking at it and going, bloody hell, this is snake bite and blackcurrant or something. Or
same colour as the one. I got to say, like I drank
a cider, perhaps, a fruity cider.
I I drank one of these from. Yeah, it smells like that as well.
Yeah. So when you have a smell of this, you're going to get that sort of lemony
overtone with it. As a can lover, Overtone puts so much
they put a lot
information
of
on it.
detail, don't they? Yeah. You're getting that lemon cheesecakey tart
Which is funny
smell
because
from it.
So a touch of sea salt, lemon tart, and soft berry.
You getting that?
That's what we should be getting. I'm getting.
I
can smell a saltiness in there.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like sea air.
I had a beer this week that had
Sea
coriander
air and berries.
There's coriander in the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's quite a fresh kind of outdoorsy smell, coriander. Oh, I'm excited to drink this actually.
I'm getting a sour berry flavour. Not getting the lemon.
No.
Sort of
You
get off the smell, but sour berry.
This reminds me of, and I don't know if it's just because I've read it on the can as well, there's hibiscus in this. There's a very strong hibiscus. I spent a wee bit of time in Egypt on holiday, and I like hibiscus juice.
Yeah.
There's a really strong hibiscus vibe in there.
Yeah.
And the salt as well, the sea salt comes through.
It does, yeah. There's almost a, like you get with salted caramel, you get the wee saltiness in the end.
And you see there was wheat in here as well.
Not sure if there is.
There's a malted wheat. Sorry. I can taste like there's this very slight hint of what you would normally associate with a wheaty kind of beer. Barley even as well. It's interesting.
It's very different. Like you get, you think, salted caramel, it doesn't work. Loads of people love it. It's a thing at the moment, which isn't kind of in fashion. It's kind of a little bit like that because you're getting a lot of sweetness from the sort of berries, and then you're getting this salty taste with it. But it does taste a bit like a sort of cider.
Yeah.
And not very fizzy cider.
It tastes, yeah. Something like reminds me of like a juice that's losing its fizz.
Yeah. It's not fizzy. There wasn't much of a head when we poured it. There's no bubbles in it now. Very little anyway.
Do you like it, Colin?
I'm not a kid of it. No. I thought it was an interesting kind of thing.
It is.
Taste.
It's really interesting, and I have enjoyed that part of the process. I just wouldn't drink it.
No, I wouldn't pick it up and buy that every week.
No.
And say I'm gonna have that.
Sours are really popular though, and they're really like. I speak to Colin at the craft beer merchant. He said like the sours, because it's summer, we've had quite a nice couple of summery months. Yeah. He says they're flying at the shelf.
I think partly because they're quite similar flavours to ciders.
Yeah.
Flavoured ciders have been popular in the last good few years, since Magners kind of came out, and now we're getting all these, flavoured pear and berry ciders.
It's the mixed fruit one that all my friends like.
I think that's kind of influenced the sour thing, because it certainly has that similarity.
I drank a raspberry sour. And I really disliked it. And I had to work really hard to be subjective. That's so much better than that. Again,
that's better than the sours I've had. I've only had a couple, and both were quite lemony.
It is interesting. I'm just not a sours fan, and I do love Overtone stuff, and we've reviewed a lot of their stuff very highly in the past. I still love their craft lagers.
I think the lagers particularly good. Kashmir, isn't it? The Kashmir lager. Yeah, and
the mosaic one we had last week as well. It was really, or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, it was really nice. The one we had for Pride Week was lovely. You should check that out if you like your sours. And I don't.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different type of sour, not as overpowering as some of them are. Not as bitter, lemony. It's more berries and that strange little saltiness in the flavour. So, you picked out a favourite.
It's been a really funny week in that the beers were we kind of tried to stick with the. We've met folk. We've done what we actually narrowly. We were going to review a Fuzzy Duck, who were a brewery that I visited when I was on holiday, but we brought in Brew because we realised we hadn't reviewed any of their beer despite having spent an entire episode with them last week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to try this one again. Sorry, because I forgot what that one was like.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, that was a kind of very Scottish ale, malty.
With the rinse of glasses out, so that
Let's do that.
Yeah. Off the top,
So we're just rinsing the glasses so we can have another taste of a few beers here. Are we saying Overtone's not in our top two?
I would be in the top.
No, right, okay. So sorry, Overtone, but your Roselle goes as much as it's interesting.
We also know we also know Overtone listens.
Yeah,
quite bad.
Sorry, guys.
They did. They also I stuck an Overtone on my. I use Untapped, and Overtone cheersed me on Untapped recently, which was really cool.
Oh,
okay. So we're going to retry the River Leven one.
River Leven Dark, isn't it? This one's cool.
Yeah. It was very unlike the rest of. It was unlike anything else that we drank.
So this one, I remember saying it reminded me a lot of the 80s revival from Cool Ground, which won a few weeks back. And that's very much the type of beer I would drink.
Yeah.
You know,
I know you're a fan of that.
I like that kind of style.
Yeah, it's nice. These three are very kind of.
What are you thinking next? What you want to go
Yeah,
for?
give it a wee taste.
So on the left.
Okay.
This is the American Pale Ale Ramsay Lane from the Brew Shed.
Enough for a wee
So
taste.
just as a reminder.
I love the smell. That's the thing about that. Really hoppy.
Yeah, it's a citrusy, what you'd expect from an American Pale Ale, but not overpowering. It's not as strong as a lot that we've tasted.
I'd like to try that from cask.
Ooh.
We talked a lot about this last week about how just beers taste different in different sort of environments as well. You're a bottled beer and a canned beer of the same type of beer can be totally different. I really like that. I'd like that in a bigger glass, not a bigger glass. I'm drinking a pint glass. I'd like that as a pint.
Yeah, I think so too.
Off the top of my head, I was leaning towards this of the four. If you asked me to pick a winner without retasting, this was
you
probably
were thinking
where I
the
would
Bill's
go.
beer from Cross Borders.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, this is the Session IPA.
It's that lovely IPA smell.
Yeah. It's really fizzy.
Was that for the beforehand? Yeah, it was.
It was. And it's kept its fizz, even though it's been opened really well.
So that grapefruit.
It's got quite a lot of grapefruit bitterness there. No, I've made up the mind.
Okay. What is your mind saying?
My mind is going for the Ramsay Lane American Pale Ale.
Okay.
I have to say, what are you thinking?
On second taste, yeah. It's lovely. Well, I'm quite happy to go with that. It's so vocal. It's so going.
You're just not going to be able to get this, folks, unless you come to Fife.
Yeah.
And if you do, give us a shout, because we're in the local area.
Yeah.
And we've none left, sadly.
Yeah.
But
that might become an issue. Actually, I'm a wee bit anxious that that's the case.
Yeah, but I really do like this.
Again, another incredible. When we did Pride Week, I thought we were really struggling with all the beers were great, and actually all the beers tonight were great as well. Which is I don't know if we're just going through a good spate of. I mean, that would be 10 beers that on any other week could be their beer of the week. The River Leven one was really good. and a really good example of that kind of Scottish ale. And we have had a couple of Scottish ales tonight before we went to air, and that's still the one that I'm like, oh, that was really good. That Cross Borders Bill's beer, I was pushing in my mind towards that until we had the second time round. Again, that could win on any other night, and I think that was the same as when we did the Pride one, and then and that Overtone one was really good as well. Like I know we're just not fans of that kind of beer, but I think if we had another host in here and they were a fan, we would have a fight in our hands.
We probably would. I think so.
But
just go and try them if you can find them.
Yeah, I had a really nice.
Because it was the same with this one. It was not one that we've seen around, and even the Gose comics folk struggled because the brewery itself didn't have a shop to do direct sales, so they had to go to a shop that they don't normally go to that had. So thanks for the efforts, guys. We're going to get the beer for us. We do like it.
You want to check? You should check out if you're checking out the beers. Let us know as well and what we should be looking at, because that was a recommendation. That was a recommendation. I took a recommendation from in my local beer shop last week, and it was probably one of the best beers I've had in a long time.
Okay.
It was I'll need to get the actual name of it, but it was like an Azteca mosaic from Tempest Brew, and I'll put the link up when I find it. I went to speak to Colin about getting another couple of cans, and he says it's gone, and it's taken them ages to get those ones in. So that's kind of what kind of beer we're looking at. It's just it's really tricky sometimes to get a good beer, so you should enjoy it while you can, and let us know. And that'd be really smart.
Yeah, for sure. We should probably round up by saying Cross Borders have got some new beers coming out.
Yeah.
And they're going to have them in Edinburgh this week, so we're hoping to go across.
Yeah, next week will be hopefully an on-tour episode.
An on-tour episode, we'll go and try the new beers up. We've got a stout and a couple of other beers.
Yeah, it's a porter. Have they got a porter coming?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we're hopefully going over to Edinburgh this week, and we'll try and grab a comic book writer or artist to come along as well.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And have a beer with us if we can manage that. Certainly spoke to some at Glasgow Comic Con about that. Cross Borders, we'll be talking about them next week more than anybody else, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they have to win next week.
Yeah.
Because that's all we're drinking.
Totally. But yeah, until then, cheers.
Cheers.